All right, well, you know what? Let's go into another match here, which was this was another interesting one where I have not heard of this player before, and everyone else was like, "Really? They're one of the best EU Graves," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." So it's two Graves, Meopala, one of the apparently best Graves from the EU, and CChavez, who arguably one of the better players in the game right now, has won a couple majors, I believe, has done really well for themselves, regularly takes out the best players in the game. And we see these. This is actually a really interesting and very patient match from these two players. They're very they're very cognizant of not wanting to get into each other's close space. Basically, their standing C, their sword reversal range. Because if you try to push too many buttons or throw too many fireballs in that range, you are going to get counter hit. So you see a lot of them working into and out of each other's spaces, using back A's, jump A's to challenge in the air, and walk in and mix up between neutral A and throw. So you see there, CChavez in the blue, once they get out of the corner with their back A here, cross over. They throw this fireball. Meopala thought they were within range to sword, but weren't. Chavez was at the perfect range to back A punish after that. Fireball, sword through it, back A punish, and then gives them time to set up wind, which is great. Doesn't get too much off of it, and then is too close. So let's see, Chavez gets out of the corner. Throws that from the perfect range. Meopala gets counter hit with the back A. Chavez sets up the wind. Goes in with some pressure. Doesn't do too much because once again worried about the sword, but then doesn't back off far enough. Meopala steps into range and swords, gets out their own wind, and starts building up chip. And you can see there, another draw game. This is actually kind of a running theme in this tournament, is timeouts and draws. And you'll see both these players are fine. Chavez gets this hit and goes in for the pressure, wants the kill, 5 seconds left, obviously goes for it, but is not going to overextend, right? Didn't want to sword first and risk getting reversaled back, but unfortunately, swords blocks does not reversal. I'm not actually sure Chavez would have had enough time to reversal and get the actual hit, because that sword takes a long time to come out, but it could have worked. But it was an excellent choice to move in and pressure and force Meopala to do something. And then they both end up taking the round for it. So Meopala working their way in, throwing fireballs from a very good range, far enough that they're not going to get jumped in on. Until here, the wind pushes them in. They step forward before that fireball, which pushes them into range and gets jump aid for it. But you can see both of these players trying to stay at max back A range and throw out fireballs, because that's the same range. Back A will almost hit or hit, and you'll be kept safe from most jump-ins or sword reversals. So they're just inching in and out of that range, trying to get the advantage. The wind pushes Chavez towards Meopala, and Meopala gets the sword and gets to set up their own wind. Once again, throws it out just within range of the jump A. Chavez blocks, waits, gets the jump A, knows they're too far to really get much else. Walks in for the throw, but gets yomied. So now Meopala trying to close this distance and get some mix-ups going. But the wind comes out, and then Meopala counter wins. So these two are they're taking their time. There's 20 seconds on the clock now, building up some chip. And then, look at that. There's that Meopala does the little step into back A range, and then the little step out. And this is just trying to tease Chavez into back A, which he does, but doesn't get the punish. And then seems to go for it again, and gets hit in return. Yeah. When Meopala failed with the fireball and got jump aid, goes for the sword, and then loses the round for it. But this is great play between these two right now, just kind of teasing each other into the right position to just gain enough advantage. All right, counter wind gets the space back. Make sure you don't get pushed into the corner. This is actually, because that's one of the real good things about wind, is that it's a good space control tool. And so Meopala pushes themselves right back out. You can see these two just doing that. I think Chavez does an empty throw just to kind of bait something out of it. It's just like whiff something to force Meopala to do anything. So they throw a fireball in response. Meopala, realizing they're in too close to really do a back A or much else, so jumps in to force the jump block, the block of the jump A. Chavez fails to jump over that fireball, now gets pushed into the corner. Meopala walking in and out of that range, so Chavez decides to kind of close it down. Goes for the neutral A, tries to jump in pressure, but gets met with Meopala's own jump A. That jump A from Grave is so good. Okay, managed to sword. Chavez blocks it. But can't punish because it's at perfect spacing. Like, these are two Graves who really know this mirror match. You see the walk-in trying to get the Yomi counter going, the little stagger walks. Same side, blocks it, and then timeout. Yeah, right? By the time that jump A lands, right? By now, the match is pretty much over. Chavez has to get a big jump in attack. Oh, that's actually a really good point, Turbo Taco. He's looking to use Super on reaction. That is absolutely it, right? Because Super will go through a fireball and be able to catch, ideally, for two. Um, and so definitely looking for that. But, like, yeah, it's all over. By the time this happens here, like, Chavez needs to get that jump A. So all Meopala has to do is walk back. Ties it up, 2-2. All right, Chavez has been using the wind and the enhanced fireballs to kind of deal some chip and to force some movement on Meopala's part. Decides to just go in and anti-airs the jump back in the corner. Picks up a neutral A into fireball, presumably because Meopala is trying to Yomi counter. Going for that throw neutral A option, gets hit. And then Chavez backs off, makes sure not to be too close to get sorted or reversal supered. So challenging, backs right up. They're inching in and out of that back A range. Jumps in, neutral A, catching the Yomi counter, the fuzzy guard attempts. Here we go. Right, holy, those neutral A's, absolutely Frosty Light. Chavez in particular does a really amazing job at mixing up their options when they go in for pressure like that. And this was an example of a round where they really shifted their decision making. Right now, we're looking at Chavez versus Meopala, one of the best. I think Chavez is from the States, and then one of the best EU players, or one of the best EU Graves, Meopala. And so they're trading their wind calls back and forth, just to force the block, and then that little step forward. Oh, this is another example, folks, of Meopala having amazing spacing. That's something I noticed like time and time again. Forward A, fireball, right? Little step forward. And then another tiny micro walk into sword. Yeah, Frosty, the spacing from Mayo is legit insane. Like, beautiful. You see him walking back, walk forward, back, just maintaining that perfect spacing, this perfect range where he can't really get hurt by it. And then, oh, I'm going to go make you block, step in again, sword, get that knockdown. Goes for the jump in mix up, tries to switch it up a bit, but gets thrown for it. And gets Yomi countered as well. So you've seen this a couple times with Meopala going into throws when they get into these semi-scramble situations. Their plan of attack didn't work here. They get thrown. Okay, what do? I block this. Okay, cool. I go for the throw to try to throw him out of his stagger pressure and get Yomi countered for it because Chavez is fuzzy guarding everything. Get Yomi countered. What does Chavez do? Gets the wind out. Blocks the sword. Good back A punish. Some fireball pressure. Chavez got the huge life lead and the round lead. You don't want to overextend. So Meopala starts going in and trying to jump at the very end because they want to do the mix-up pressure, right? Which I feel you need that jump in, right? But you're so close. And Chavez, after basically almost never canceling into back A, I don't think, this entire match so far, decides to cancel the back A into a fireball, the large one, which clips Meopala jumping and takes this. So going up 1-0. So both these players sticking with their graves, going into the second game now. Meopala and Chavez both going for a much more aggressive game this time. Looking to get into each other's space and jump over whatever button the other is pressing in order to get a jump in attack. So you're seeing them get some huge jump ins and some throw trades every time they're on the ground. Meopala moving in, aggressive jump A block string. Chavez recognizing it and goes for the knife hand, gets a good anti-air, gets a back A knockdown, and then boom for 1, because unfortunately it doesn't connect for 2. Gets the knockdown, walks in, looking for that fireball, gets it. Another knockdown in the win this time, as our friend Seaweezy is fond of saying, Grave has 2 super meters, the wind meter and his actual bar. So Chavez uses one, then the other, and managed to seal this one with some aggressive fireball play. So now we're 1-1, and now Chavez returns to a more patient and passive approach. Tries to jump in, gets anti-air, Meopala on it. Goes for it again, but the little change in momentum from the air pinwheel attack actually prevents it from being anti-aired. And then Chavez gets the throw into a mix-up. Very patient, though. Not trying to do too much. Knows he can get counter hit or counter poked here, so backs off, blocks, builds some space, but not enough space. Good from Chavez to get the knockdown. Chavez gets the back A knockdown and then into wind, but it pushes him right into range of Meopala's sword reversal there. So Meopala gets their own wind out. Chavez gets their own sword reversal. So you'll see these two are doing an amazing job of spacing when they are in neutral. But they are not taking into account all of the wind spacing, not at least when they're using it offensively. Oh, good anti-air super. Goes in for the neutral A pressure. Chavez there probably expecting the throw. That's the big risk, right? It's the core mix of strike throw. And Graves' neutral A is very fast. It's very good normal. Throws are extremely fast, so you just got to get that read. And, if you're not tight in your fuzzy guards, then you're going to get thrown or you're going to get hit into a 2 combo with Grave here. It's risky. Meopala, throw, neutral A, jumps over the fireball. Big sword through it. And then shimmy into neutral A. These two have been doing an amazing job at this. It's been fantastic to watch. Very patient play. Knowing when to push in to be more aggressive. Okay, let's take a look at this here. Jumping over fireballs, not spacing them quite perfectly enough. They're moving into each other's spaces more and more. Back A the throw. The meaty fireball from Meopala, forcing Chavez to either block or sword. Smart enough not to sword, just eats the block even though he's at 1. Starts to build up that chip. Yeah, and now with a really good opportunity, Meopala recognizing it. They have all the health, they have the win meter, they have super. So let me get that up as best I can. And then challenge for either chip or for damage. And in this case, manages to clip that jump from Chavez. And Meopala seals the second game. did TBK manage to say Chavez correctly in this tournament? Yes. Yes, they did a very good job. I'm so proud of them. So these two very, very talented Grave players are now tied up 1-1 here in winter semifinals. Meopala recognizing that spacing, getting the solid jump-ins. Able to fireball the back A's. Take a look at this again. Jump in. Doesn't go for the fireball, thinks he's too far away. Backs off. Big fireball on the back A. So Chavez is getting aggressive with these things. Going in for the throw. This is so funny. Like, going in for the throw, and then Meopala going for the counter throw, and both of them whiffing. Just like... they lost their like assessment of where are we centered in our spacing, right? And then they're just off. So they both end up throwing out win, which kind of just neutralizes things. Obviously, they both were like, okay, we're not sure where we are. Let's back this off and reset. Unfortunately, Chavez has a bit of a hill to climb here. 20 seconds and only 1 bit of health. Yep, tries to go in for the throw. Gets the big jump in into knockdown. And a cross up. We're very close now. We saw the same thing last time when Chavez was in this situation. Low time, low health, gets the wind up, tries to go for the chip. Meopala says, no, I'm going to neutralize this right away. I don't want to have to deal with it. I have my wind. I can get it out. Let's do it. And they go for the draw. And so, like I said, this is a bit of a running theme in this whole tournament. Like, it happened with me and Janet. It happened in this matchup a couple times. Listen, we've got a lot of rounds to go. I am happy to take a draw. They're willing to play with the round system and how that works, which I think is really cool. Okay, so we're in here. This last game, tied up 1-1. Chavez still throwing those fireballs from the right range, making sure they're not going to get hit with the sword. The step forward sword from Meopala just doesn't reach. Chavez again gets the knockdown into wind and is just trying to control this, not overextend, happy to back off, trying to move back in a little bit, just out of range to force the block on the back A. Right, doesn't want to get caught with the jump in 3-hit combo. Moves in here, ooh, just short on the back A, gets clipped. Neutralizes this wind, gets a bit of advantage because he waits a quick second, and so gets an extra second of wind advantage on the back end of that. But this is so smart. Gets the last empowered wind and the little bit of wind resistance, which makes Meopala land on that fireball. And then Chavez is able to go in for the kill. Once again, recognizing the fireball and that they have the meter, and gets the super counter. It's a good start to this round. All right, Mayo gets the enhanced wind out, is able to fireball through, use the extra durability on their enhanced fireball against this one, and gets out a nice 2 damage combo off of the anti-air fireball, which was super smart. Now we have Chavez going in, says, I'm going to be super aggressive. Empty jump throw, jump A, it's not timed as a safe jump, and Meopala gets the full animated super. Alright, neither of these wanting to be on the defensive. As soon as Meopala gets it up, Chavez counter wins, and they just neutralize it and are like, okay, we don't have to worry about wind for a quick second. Let's play this out. Chavez switching up their pacing and their tempo here, which is really interesting. Goes in anti-air, moves in, neutral A, jumps in, gets super aggressive, goes for the throw finally, and then backs off. Right? Does half damage, gets the corner pressure, says you have meter, you have reversal options, I back off. Meopala working their way out there, gets the wind up, gets the corner themselves. Oh, beautiful. This is beautiful, guys. Like, Chavez has been on point with their anti-airs and their supers, and then lo and behold, goes for it, but Meopala has a stick of butter on deck and says, I will counter you, my friend. I have been waiting for this opportunity. Gets the big counter super, and then goes in, gets some pressure, jumps back, which is nice because this is what they've been doing, right? You've been going in for a bit, and then you hop back, and then you stay at that perfect range where you can play with back A's and fireballs. So Chavez goes for the fireball, but Meopala saying, nah, that was a bait. I'm going back in. Goes back in with the jump A into 3-hit. Up 3-2 now against Chavez in winter semifinals. Chavez using this little chip setup. Empowered wind. On one chip. Gets the 2-hit pinwheel. But is now stuck in the corner. Try to use these back A's and fireballs to push their way out. Still well spaced so they can block that sword. And then always ready to challenge with that jump A. Oh, there you go. So, I think Meopala here, you see them working in, and then Chavez starts working them out. After that jump in there, not sure where they're spaced. I don't think Chavez was expecting to still be that close after the jump A pushback. So throws that fireball and gets sorted for it and is now right back in that corner. So enhanced wind. Meopala, once again, smart. Neither one of them want to be at disadvantage against the wind, so they just use their own to neutralize it. And then they get to play out this little bit of footsies game. Oh no. Unfortunate for Meopala. Thinking that they're going to be able to deal with the neutral A or the throw with a reversal super. But Chavez, waiting for it, blocks that super, solid punish, ties it up. We're at game 7 now. So many of these matches during this tournament went down to the wire. And also, good point, the mental damage from that jump counter super, not to be understated, right? Like, that throws people through a loop. Okay, playing this max range game that they've been doing all along. Trading a bit of chip damage back and forth. Ooh, caught jumping. And a very solid round from Chavez here. Once he gets the knockdown there, then he's able to go in. A well-spaced fireball catches this jump, which gets him another knockdown. And then he's able to go in and just say, okay, I'm going to go for the mix-up. I need one jump in into a combo. Gets 2 jump-in opportunities. Gets a single anti-air, and then, okay, do I walk forward throw? Do I walk forward neutral A? Meopala has not been coming out on top in those situations. I think Chavez has read the kind of defensive game that Meopala has been going for when he applies that neutral A/throw pressure, and has been able to come out on top in so many of those situations. This is such a fantastic match between two great players. I didn't even know who Meopala was when I went into this tournament. I saw them. I was doing the seeding, and I'm like, I saw them, and I thought Menowapi at first, and I'm like, no, Menno's also in the tournament. So, who who is Meopala? And then it was pointed out to me that they're yeah, a very talented EU player, and yeah, putting on a show here, going up against Chavez, one of the best in the game, and really putting on a clinic with Grave in terms of spacing. Like they knew the ideal spot on stage for their character to be, and it was a matter of rotating your options. I mean, this might sound basic fighting game stuff, but it's like done at such a proficient level. It's so impressive how they're able to move in and out of the ideal space, and just having that be what lures people in and out. And then, yeah, it's really a masterclass in Grave play, I think, this matchup.